I'm not ashamed to own my Lord, nor to defend his cause. Maintain the honors of his word, the glory of his cross.
Hello, I am James Brown, and on behalf of the Eastern Church of Christ located in Toronto, Canada, I'd like to welcome you to Wednesday's edition of Walking Through the Bible, a podcast where we seek to study the Bible and the Bible alone. Please stick around afterwards for information on how you can contact us. But for now, if you have a Bible with you, please turn to the book of Genesis, and we'll turn you over to Jeremy Dieselkamp for our study of the day.
Thank you, James, and welcome to all of our viewers. This is the 122nd lesson in our study of Genesis. Yesterday we covered Genesis chapter 35, verses 16 to 26, discussing the birth of Benjamin and the death of Rachel. If you missed that episode and would like to watch it, you can find it and all of our other podcasts on our website at www.eastendchurch.org. You can also find them on our YouTube channel at www.youtube.com/EastEndChurchOfChrist under the Walking Through the Bible Genesis playlist. Today we're going to begin with Genesis 35 verse 27 and read through verse 29. The text that you'll see on the screen is from the English Standard Version, but you're welcome to follow along with any version that you have. So let's now read Genesis 35 beginning at verse 27. And Jacob came to his father Isaac at Mamre, or Kiriath Arba, that is Hebron, where Abraham and Isaac had sojourned. Now the days of Isaac were 180 years. And Isaac breathed his last, and he died, and was gathered to his people, old and full of days. And his sons Esau and Jacob buried him. After Rachel's death, Jacob dwelt for an unknown time near the Tower of Eder. It was here that Reuben slept with his father's concubine, a sin that Jacob would never forget. Following this unknown period of time, probably not too long, he then travels further south to Hebron, which is where his father Isaac was living. The last time we saw Isaac, he was living in Beersheba, so during this period of 30 years, Isaac must have moved to Hebron. This place had specific significance to this family, for it is a place that Abraham had sojourned for a long period of time during his time in Canaan, and it is near where the cave of Machpelah was, the burying place of Abraham and Sarah. If I was to venture a guess, Isaac would have moved here when Rebekah died, for Genesis 49:31 says that Rebekah was buried here too. When Jacob arrived in Hebron, it was probably not too far from the time that Joseph was sold into Egypt. This would put Isaac to be about 167 or 168 years old by now. We learn that Isaac lived to be 180 years old and then he died. His sons Esau and Jacob buried him. This would be the last man we read of in Genesis who lived past the age of 150. Abraham lived to be 175, while Jacob only lived to be 147. As we've come along in Genesis, we've seen the ages that men and women lived gradually decrease as disease became more common, a consequence of not having access to the tree of life. Looking back at the life of Isaac, we find a man of faith who, like everyone else, also has flaws. He was the son of promise, born to Abraham at the age of 100. When he was a young man, his father took him to the mountains of Moriah because God told Abraham to sacrifice Isaac to him. We know this was a test of Abraham's faith, but Abraham didn't at the time. When Abraham did what God asked, God stopped Abraham from killing Isaac. What an ordeal this must have been for Isaac, yet in all of this, we never read of him complaining or questioning God. Even here, Isaac was showing himself to be a man of faith. Unlike his father, Isaac seemed to be a more quiet man, content to spend his time meditating. He didn't marry until the age of 40, 3 years after his mother's death. Isaac never met Rebekah, his wife, until Abraham's servant brought her to him to marry. Even with this being the case, the scriptures say Isaac loved her, and we see this love throughout their relationship. Isaac, though, did learn something from his father that got him into trouble: lying. He lied to Abimelech about Rebekah being his sister instead of his wife, just like Abraham did with Sarah. Later on, his relationship with Abimelech and the people of Gerar soured, causing Isaac to have to move on. After digging wells in Beersheba, he finally found a place where he would spend much of his time. He had 2 sons, Esau and Jacob. Esau was the older, while Jacob was the younger. Another fault that Isaac had was that both he and his wife played favorites. Isaac loved Esau more, while Rebekah loved Jacob more. This favoritism played out later on down the line when it came time to bestow the blessing of headship on one of the children. Isaac wanted to bestow this blessing on Esau, but God had already picked Jacob. And when Jacob tricked his father into blessing him, Esau became angry and wanted to kill Jacob. Jacob was forced to flee to Haran, and Isaac paid the price for 20 years for this fault, for that's how long Jacob was gone. During this time, it is likely that his wife Rebekah died and buried in the cave of Machpelah near Hebron. On the whole, though, Isaac was a faithful man. His faith showed weakness from time to time, but he was a man who believed in God and believed God would fulfill his promises. He died in a good old age and should be remembered for the faith he showed. With that, our time is up for today. Please join us, Lord willing, tomorrow when we will continue our study of Genesis, beginning with Genesis 36, verse 1.
Thank you, Jeremy. And to our viewers, we also thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel by clicking on the subscribe button below. Should you have any questions or comments, please leave a comment below or email us at answerintheword@gmail.com. We'll try to respond to you as quickly as we can. We hope you'll join us, the Lord willing, tomorrow when we'll be continuing our study of the book of Genesis. Goodbye for now, and have a great day.
I'm not ashamed to own my Lord.